Hi guys, Cynthia here, and today we're going to deal with my messy, overgrown, wild, not kept, neglected tomatoes. I obviously, you can see here that this tomato is completely overgrown and has kind of gone a little bit crazy. Now, this is completely my fault. I did not read the seed packet. When I hear Patio Choice, which is what this tomato is, it's a delicious sweet cherry tomato. It is yellow, super good, kind of orangey, when fully ripened. I thought it's a patio choice. It's got to fit on a patio. That means small. That is not true. Clearly, you can see that. Next year, when I do grow this tomato, because I will, it's delicious and I love how prolific it is, I'm definitely going to make sure that I have the correct trellis. So a few things that you want to learn about tomatoes when deciding to grow them, you have to look at your climate, right? So if you're in super hot weather, there are some tomatoes that are not heat tolerant. So you may want to look into that. You also have to look at how long it's going to take for your tomato to ripen. So if you're in the northern area or even like Alaska, they don't have a long growing season. You have to make sure that you grow the correct tomato for your season. And again, there's a lot of websites and you can Google and all that kind of stuff that will definitely help you with the journey to finding the correct tomato for you. The next thing you want to look at when growing a tomato is the kind of tomato you want to eat and what you're going to use it for, right? Lots of people love to can, that's going to be a Tyron or, some kind of paste tomato. It honestly looks crazy, but it's better than what it was. So if you're not a canner and you're into fresh eating, you got to determine what kind of fresh eating. Do you want it for a salad? I think that cherry tomatoes are best for salads, in my opinion, because if you don't want to cut it, it's just something that is like a bite size and super, super delicious. Right here, I am trimming up all of my paste tomatoes, and I have a slicer tomato, which so it's like my favorite tomato. It is a Paul Robeson, and I'm doing a Tyron and a San Marzano next to it. So, okay, now we're back to fresh eating, right? If you're going to do it for salads, I suggest a delicious cherry tomato. Or if you want it for sandwiches, you got to think slicer tomatoes. So on top of dealing with what climate you are and what you can grow in your area, you have to think of what you're going to use it for, right? Then, obviously, the growing habit. Growing habit is so important. If you do not have a large garden or any kind of trellis, you might want to think of determinate. Determinate is kind of like a bush type of tomato. The tallest that a determinate should be 3 feet, but a indeterminate, which is kind of like you can see here my Tyron and my Paul Robeson, they can get up to 5 feet tall. So you're going to need a stake. You're going to need a cage. You have to decide what space you have and what you're willing to invest in your garden when it comes to tomatoes. Now, disease. You have to also look at disease resistant. I had, in the beginning of the season, we were getting a ton of rain and I got blossom end rot, and I just picked those tomatoes out because I did not want to deal with that. I dealt with it last year and it messed my entire plant up, and I had to start over, and I barely got any tomatoes last year. And again, you also have to look at what you have in your garden. They want full sun, right? They want to be planted in correctly. You want to make sure you get rid of any of the bottom leaves. There's just so many things when planting a tomato that you have to think about. Now, I could have done such a better job trellising, and I talk about this at the end of the video, so I'm not going to bore you too much with it. But I'm very happy with what I'm getting so far. I love all the fruit that is set, and now I know what I'm going to do next year. I'm definitely learning so much with this gardening season, and that's my favorite thing to do. And I think you guys also should never think of it as any kind of failure. Always think of what can you improve for the next year? What am I going to do better next year? Next year, I'm going to make sure that I take care of this process sooner, that I trellis it sooner, that I have the correct trellises, that I make sure that the people who I like to buy the trellis from don't sell out. Because that's kind of what happened to me this year. You also want to make sure that you provide them, tomatoes like well-draining soil, and they don't want to be super wet, but they don't want to be dry. There's just so many things. They like rich soil, you want to make sure that you add fertilizer, worm compost, all of that stuff. Anything that you add to the soil to make it better is going to provide a better yield and a better tasting fruit. So I always suggest that you do something like that. So this little tomato that I'm dealing with here is a tiny little seedling that I thought was not going to get anywhere or do anything, but it's actually growing, and I believe it to be, I think I said at the end of the video, but I think it's either a tyrant. I believe it's a tyrant, or I don't know. Either way, but down here, I'm just cutting back the marigolds because they got really overgrown, and I just felt like it was shading out my tomato, but also I just want to make sure that, there's no disease that can happen because they need a lot of airflow. I always suggest too with tomatoes, use some kind of mulch just to prevent, like when there's, rain falling down, it doesn't kick up and hit the leaves and then create those like little black spots, because that will destroy your yield for sure, and your plant. It could kill the whole thing. Before I close out this video, let me just do this little like, hey, look how nice it looks now. But also just a few reminders. You want to look at the climate. What can you grow in your area? What type of tomato? What are you going to use it for? What kind of growing habit? The location in your garden. Make sure that you mulch. Make sure that you remove bottom leaves and suckers. Make sure you fertilize. Make sure that you water consistently. Make sure. But have a good time gardening, whatever you decide to put in your garden. Okay, so I want to go ahead and show you, I guess, the after. Now, it is not great. I don't pride myself in this situation right here, but it is much better. So when I guess I maybe not have read the tag correctly. Oh, what's that? Is that a bug? No, it's just dirt. Okay. I thought, because it's called Patio Choice, I honestly just thought, based on the name, didn't look at any of the tags or anything, that it would be a smaller patio size, cherry. Well, that was a lie. So I put that cute little support, which really, held it up. I got that from Gardener Supply. It is the, I don't know, the small peony cage, I believe. I'm not sure, but I'll definitely link it. And it's great. I mean, you know, it held that entire tomato like up, meaning that it didn't like fall over. So I'm kind of impressed with that alone. So I think if I ever grow this tomato again, which I definitely will, I love it. One, it's super delicious, and two, I love how prolific it is. But I'm probably going to grow it in my vegetable garden. I'm going to put an actual tomato cage, which I will kind of talk about the ones that I have in the back and like discuss the situation with those. You know what I mean? So, but this is going to do for now. I don't mind what it looks like, to be honest. Not bad. I did cut off a lot of leaves. I'm sure you guys saw that. You want to make sure that, I was going to say potato, your tomato gets lots of airflow and light to prevent disease. And quite frankly, this one looks great. I did, and I'll show you the ones over there. I kind of messed up a little bit. There's just things I wish I kept up with my tomatoes, and I really didn't this year. I was like too busy. I was too busy. Anyway, let's go look at the other tomatoes. I want to talk about my tomato supports. Don't mind the stakes here. I kind of have the garden like barricaded until we finish the fence. Okay, so I want to talk about tomato supports. I really like these a lot. I really like this tall one. Now, the reason why you see that it's attached by twine onto the other trellis is because I put in this taller cage while the tomato was at a large size. Um, that's not good. You want to put these cages on immediately when they're tiny so that you can train them properly. And because I didn't do that, I was not able to kind of push the stake further into the soil because I was afraid of breaking the branches of the tomato. I hope that makes sense. When you know what I mean, like when I was pushing it down, I was afraid that all the side branches would break. So that's why it's like that. So there's a difference between these tomato cages and this tomato cage. The tall tomato cage is like my pepper cages that you see, like that all my peppers are on. And that means that they stack within each other, right? Like you can put one in on top of it, on top of it, on top of. These two are for determinate tomato uh, plants, meaning that they have a determinate size that would actually be pretty good for tomatillos. You'll see on the other side, my tomatillos are outgrowing the pepper cage because tomatillos grow a little bit taller. So I wanted to order some more of those tomato cages that continue to be stacked, but they are completely sold out. And so are the pepper cages because they're the same thing. So anyway, these particular trellises are sold out at the Gardener Supply Company until I believe October time or something like that. They're super sturdy. They're excellent. I really like them. First thing I'm going to do this winter is buy more so that I can stack more tomatoes because I have a vision for, I remember, I think I told you guys that I'm doing like 4 more garden beds in one video. And I have an idea of planting 4 tomatoes on the back side of each garden bed. And I think that would look really pretty. But anyway, let's talk kinds of tomatoes that I have. I have this gorgeous tomato. This is, oh, hold for train. Alrighty, so this gorgeous tomato, this is a Paul Robeson. First of all, look at how gorgeous that tomato is. It's going to become like a dark, almost purpley red, and it is absolutely loaded with gorgeous, so it's a slicer tomato. Look at that. There, it's just completely loaded. There are more flowers and stuff, so I'm really excited about this tomato. And I think it is going to reach the top of the trellis. So this is a perfect height, in my opinion, for uh, a tomato trellis. Here, you'll see that this is a Tyron. Now, earlier in the season, we got like a ton of rain, and there was a few of them that had, I'll put it on the screen. I can't remember when the bottom gets like a black spot. And I literally just took those off and threw them away because I'm like, you're not ruining my tomato. And basically how that happens is if they get too much water after being in a drought, there's so many causes of it, but majority, that's like anytime I've had an issue, it's because of that. So I'm really pleased with this tomato. It is doing well. Oh, I have to stake this one. Oh, yeah, yeah. I will have to stake this here because I think it's going to break, but it's all right. For now, we'll keep it like that. Over here, so this is a Tyron, so this is a San Marzano. Now you're probably thinking, why are your San Marzanos so far behind? That plant broke during planting, and I didn't think it was going to make it. So I just planted it in, and I am really happy to say that it made it. I think it looks great. So a lot of the times, like you can make pasta sauce, you can do whatever you want. I don't personally like to make my own pasta sauce, or I shouldn't say I don't like to, I just haven't. So what I do with my paste tomatoes is create tomato paste. After I create tomato paste, I literally put a tablespoon on parchment paper and put it in the freezer, and I then put them in a big freezer bag, and they're all a tablespoon. And this is gonna, I mean, this is good for, you know, making pasta sauces, chili, anything you would add some paste to. That is what I use my pasting tomatoes for. Over on this side of the garden, I have another tomato that I actually don't know what it is. To me, it almost looks like a Tyron tomato based on like the looks of this, because they're more pointy than they are than the others, which were the San Marzano. Now, this was just an additional seedling that I had in the container, and I really should have probably named it, but I didn't, and that's okay. And I decided to just pop it in, and I was like, you know what? I'll find out what it is when it starts to fruit. So I'm really thinking that's a Tyron. And again, the cage is not large enough. This cage would be great for a tomatillo, and that is what I'm going to use it for next year. Now, let's go look at the tomatillos. So this cucamelon has literally gone nuts, but look how cute they are. Anyway, so you can see here that my tomatillos have outgrown these trellises. In fact, this tomatillo is now being invaded by the cucamelon,
and so I have to set her free. But you can see she's just too big. These are too big, but imagine how perfect they'd be for these regular size cages. So once these are back in stock, I'm going to make sure that I have enough for at least 3 large tomatoes. Um, but I think they're excellent. And again, this is a flaw by me for sure. I mean, I think that I mean we're currently having a lot of wind right now, and I think that I will still kind of reinforce them so that if we do get a lot of wind, which we do, I won't have a situation where it falls and breaks and all of that stuff. Okay, guys, so I'm really excited about this video. It's not my typical video, but it is something that had to be done, right? So I had to deal with my tomatoes. So they were getting out of hand. I think in the future, I will put the cages on because I'll have them. I'll put the cages on sooner so that I can train them better. And I will also pay more attention to them. I kind of let them go a little bit crazy, but even going crazy, you can see that, I do have a lot of tomatoes, but it's not anything that is, I say that now, overwhelming. So I think I can deal with it and handle it. That being said, I am excited that I have tomatoes at all. Last year, I had a problem with a fungal thing, kind of like what I thought I was going to get, but the leaves were spotty and really nasty. And I don't know why I had that because I did what I always do, which is, cut the bottom leaves up and made airflow. In fact, I paid a lot more attention to them last year. So maybe neglect is the key. I don't know. But anyway, that being said, I lost my tomatoes and I had to restart them, and I started them really late. And so then a lot of my tomatoes had to ripen on my windowsill. And I don't want to do that. I like when my tomatoes can ripen like out in the open. And it also gives you more time to deal with your harvest. You know what I mean? So I'm really happy that it actually worked out. Everything in the garden is looking amazing and lush. But I am going to leave this video here because a part of me wants to just keep talking about garden stuff, but this is not the video. This is a tomato video and a tomato video only. So um, I'm just looking around because I'm just so pleased. But I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. I'd love to have you. And if you like the video, please like it. And remember, if you didn't get it done today, there is always tomorrow.